Hi everyone, this is Mary. You're in Mary Reads. Welcome back to my channel. We just moved through the middle of November, so it's getting closer and closer to Thanksgiving and then Christmas and then New Year's. There's only a month and a half left until the end of the year, and I wanted to show you the books that I really want to finish before the New Year's, before 2025 begins. There are a lot. These are super ambitious plans, and with work and then getting Christmas gifts and going to see family, I don't know how much I will be able to read, but I'll do my best. I really hope to be able to read most of these books. Some of them will probably be in Christmas vlogs, even though they're not super Christmassy. This time I don't feel like reading a lot of Christmas themed books, maybe something more easy to read, maybe like fantasy, stuff like that, but nothing that is actually like very Christmassy with the plot that somehow is connected to Christmas. So let's move to the books. The first one is V for Vendetta by Alan Moore. This is a graphic novel. I did not expect that it's going to be a graphic novel when I was getting it from the library. I do not know how I feel about it yet. I'm not a huge fan of graphic novels. Not that I think they're bad literature or not literature or whatever. It's just the format is not really my thing. I feel like I don't get enough information. I feel like I need text to be able to imagine something in my head. That's how I usually read. And when I see pictures and very little text, so kind of everything is already imagined for me, I get a little bit lost. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to read it and appreciate it, but I'm going to try because the plot is very interesting. So as I understood, this is going to be kind of a dystopian novel set in an alternative England that gave in to fascism. And this is a story about the loss of identity, the loss of control, and apparently this totalitarian world is very believable and kind of scary. So I'm very excited. I know there is a movie based on this graphic novel. I've never seen it, so I have no idea what to expect. I just noticed that I've seen this guy before somewhere in pictures. So I knew that, yes, I've seen that somewhere. And then my husband told me that there was a movie. But other than that, I don't know anything about it. And I'm very excited. Now, the next two books are also by Alan Moore, and I haven't taken them from the library yet. They just came there recently, and I'll pick them up, I think, tomorrow. I was looking for one specific book. It's called Jerusalem, and I first heard about it a couple of years ago from this book blogger that I really like. She said that it was the best book of the year for her. And since then, I was very, very interested in the story. Like, the cover was very interesting, and then what she said about the story was very intriguing, and I really wanted to read it. And I've been looking for this book ever since. I couldn't find it in Barnes & Noble, and then I kind of gave up. And recently, my husband and I went into this used bookstore, and I saw this book there. Completely new edition, even though it's used book, I don't know, very well preserved or whatever, but it cost $75. And I said, you know what, I really want this book, but I just can't. And since I've been so active taking books from the library, why don't I check if they have it? And they actually did, and the book came to me. So I'm picking it up tomorrow, and this is the story. It's a family saga. It talks about people, one family that lives, I think, well, in Jerusalem. And if I understand correctly, this is going to be their quest, the family's quest. It will be talking about the culture, how this culture changes through generation. It will be somehow connected to religion. I don't know exactly what to expect. The promise is that there will be a lot of different topics discussed, and I thought that it will be a very interesting book to read. Based on what I know about Alan Moore, he has a bunch of things that are connected to fantasy and slightly maybe something mysterious. So I don't know if Jerusalem is going to be also slightly a fantastic world. I don't know. It feels like it's not, just based on the cover that I saw, But again, I have no idea. So if you've read this book before, please let me know if you've liked it, what genre exactly it is, but please just don't tell me any spoilers. And the next book is also by Alan Moore, and it's called The Great When, and I'm also picking this book up tomorrow from the library. And I decided to take this book only because it reminded me of Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. And I don't know if it's actually going to be similar, but the synopsis looked similar. So this story is going to be set right after World War II finishes. And we are going to follow this guy, Dennis, who will be on the quest of returning some sort of a book. And if he doesn't return it, he will die. And he lives in some sort of an alternative London. This is what I thought was similar to Neverwhere. And he has to return it to a different world, like the different London. And it should be fantasy, and it might be a series, though I think only the first book is out. It's a very new book. So if I like it, and if it is really a series, I think I might read the rest of the series. But if not, I'll at least read the first one and, tell you what it's about and if I could recommend reading it. The next two books are from the same series, and I'm on book 2 now. It's Thomas Harris's The Silence of the Lambs. It's the series about Hannibal Lecter. I've read the first one, really enjoyed it, and I took the second one from the library. So what surprised me, and I will tell you a little bit more about that in my read in October and November video, is that Hannibal Lecter is not going to be the main character. So he's not going to be the main villain. It's going to be some other case, and Hannibal Lecter is going to be somehow connected. He's either going to be helping the detective, or he's going to do something, that will kind of affect the events. But he's not going to be the main character. And I think that here it's going to be the same thing. So this book is going to be kind of similar to the first one, though the detectives are going to be different. In this book, there is this serial murderer, Buffalo Bill, that is attacking women, and nobody can figure out where he is because all the murders happen in different states. And our main character is a journalist who is going to go and interview Hannibal Lecter to get an insight on the serial killer's psychology to hopefully identify who Buffalo Bill is. Very excited. Really want to continue with this series, and then I really want to tell you about the first book. Book number 3, Hannibal. This is the third out of 4 books in the series. I don't have the fourth one yet, but I got the first 3. And the events of this book happen 7 years after this one, Silence of the Lambs. And in this story, Hannibal Lecter escaped from his prison cell, and one of his victims, who was able to survive, wants to get revenge, and he is trying to find Hannibal Lecter to, I'm not sure, do what with him, like kill him or give him back to the police. So this is going to be more about Hannibal himself, and I'm very excited about this one. And then the next one is going to be Hannibal Rising, that I'm also planning on taking out of the library soon, and I'll tell you about the whole series once I'm done with it. The next book has actually been in my plans in last December, and then I never got to reading it, so it moved to this December, and it's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson. You've probably heard about the book or maybe the movie. The movie was amazing. I absolutely loved it. And in this story, a man from a very wealthy family, he's getting old, he thinks that he soon might die, and there's one mystery that he could never figure out. His niece disappeared when she was about 12, and he calls Michael Blomkvist, a journalist who was convicted of libel, to investigate the case. And Michael Blomkvist takes the opportunity. He's promised to be paid very well. He's promised to be given, a house to live in. And he works with this young woman who is very goth, very punk, but she is an IT genius. She's amazing with computers. And together they're gonna be solving this mystery. It's, I think, a perfect book for December, just because the events happen in winter and I think it's going to be a great December read. I got the next book a while ago, I think in March, and I found it in our lobby of our building. We have this little place where we share books, and it's called The Night the Lights Went Out by Karen White. This is a story of a mom of 2 kids who recently got divorced and moved to this little suburban town in Georgia with both of her kids. And one day she reads a blog post that discusses her and her failed marriage. And obviously she's very upset about it. She finds some peace in this club that all of these suburban women hold every once in a while. And she is trying to find peace, but obviously in little suburban towns, having dirty secrets is not very good because everybody starts talking about you. I think it might be a mystery, but I'm not entirely sure. I do really like the atmosphere of these little suburban towns, SUVs, moms who stay at home and take care of kids, dads who go to work and then come back to their house every evening. I feel like it's a very pretty picture, real American dream, but there can be a lot going on behind the closed doors. And it's a very, very interesting setting that I want to learn more about. The next book is by Jodi Picoult. It's called Vanishing Acts, and I think it's probably also a mystery. So this is a story about a woman who seems to have perfect life. She was born and raised in New Hampshire, and she had a very nice childhood. Now she has a daughter and she's getting ready to get married. She has a perfect fiance, and something goes wrong when a policeman knocks on her door and tells her something about her life that she didn't expect was there. So I don't know if he told her something about her fiance or about her family, but basically this is the book about how life can change just like flipping a switch, and how what we thought we knew can actually turn out very differently. So I know it's kind of a vague description. I'm not entirely sure what this book is going to be about, but it looks interesting. I've never read anything by Jodi Picoult. I was thinking about reading 19 Minutes, but then I realized that it's just too much. I can't do this. So I decided to start with this one. Hopefully it's going to be less heartbreaking. Next book I really want to read in November because I feel like it's a very, very fall read. It's Bram Stoker's Dracula. This is one of the most famous vampire stories, and it is told in letters and diary entries of one of the main characters. And I actually decided not to read anything about this book, so I don't exactly know what's gonna happen. So it's a mystery to me, and I just know that there's gonna be Van Helsing. There are gonna be people who are definitely terrified of Dracula. Everything is happening in the British Empire, and that's all I know. So if you read the book, if you liked it, please let me know, but don't tell me anything. Don't give me any details about the book. I want it to be a complete mystery because I'm very excited about the story. The next book, talked about it already, was planning on reading it for Halloween, but just didn't have time. It's 10, and it's based on Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. It's just written in a more modern world, as I understood. So 10 teenagers go to this cabin in the forest and they start dying. Something starts happening to them. I don't know if it's going to be good. I've heard that it's not very amazing, but then at the same time, I just loved And Then There Were None. So I really want to read this book and see if I'm gonna like it, if it's gonna be similar to Agatha Christie's, and if it's gonna be as chilling and mysterious. The next book is Persuasion by Jane Austen. I think I've told you about that before. I have some issue with Jane Austen. I've read all of her novels, but I only clearly remember Emma and Pride and Prejudice. I don't know what happens with me with her other novels. They just all mix together. I don't remember the details. So I found this book also in the lobby of my building, and I decided that it's time to finally put everything, in the correct folders and straighten up the facts. So I want to read this book and remember it this time. So this is a classic Jane Austen, a love story about a woman who meets a naval officer that she was persuaded to reject many, many years ago. He is now courting a different woman, and I think our main character, Anne Elliot, is going to realize that she's still in love with him and she does not want to be with anybody else. Now, the next two books are both by Dan Brown. They're from the same series, about Robert Langdon, Da Vinci Code, and Inferno. In this book, Robert Langdon is going to be in Paris solving the mystery of the death of the curator of the Louvre. And in this one, Robert Langdon wakes up realizing that he doesn't remember the last 36 hours. There is this object that he has that he doesn't remember how he got, and he realizes that these were the codes written by a genius scientist who was obsessed with the end of the world, and it's also somehow going to be connected to Dante's Inferno. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I have an issue with Dan Brown though, because in the end, nothing super mysterious happens. So for example, I was watching Lost Symbol with my husband a couple years ago, and in the end, it's a Bible. So, you think of these knowledge that is hidden somewhere, and this villain wants to get it. He wants to become a superhuman. And then in the end, you realize that all the secrets were in the Bible. And it's just not that interesting, And this is how all of the stories end. Because I remember watching the movies, for example, the Da Vinci Code, and it ends up being something very, very not interesting. Dan Brown does a very good job building up the suspense and expectations, and then everything is just ruined in the end. I don't know if the books are going to be the same. Well, I assume the Da Vinci Code is going to be the same as the movie. I've never watched Inferno, never read Inferno, so I'm really hoping that something different is going to happen here. But we will see. I don't know. I do want to read his books and see if I like the style of the author, though. Another book that I'm not sure I'm going to be able to read by the end of the year, but if not, I'm going to take it in the beginning of 2025. I want to read it in winter. It's Dostoevsky's Brothers Karamazov, and it's time for me to get back to Dostoevsky. I've only read Crime and Punishment. I am kind of embarrassed about that. I do have an explanation to why that was so, and I talked about that earlier on my channel. I got so depressed after reading Crime and Punishment. I read it when I was 16. We were reading it for school, that I realized I can't read this author for the next couple of years. And now I think I finally grew up enough to read more of Dostoevsky's novels. So the Brothers Karamazov are number 2 out of Dostoevsky's 5 great novels that are on my list. So I'm hoping to be able to read it by the end of 2024. And finally, I don't know if I'm going to read this series. I think I'm going to take it for my vlogmases, like my Christmas vlogs, because last year I was reading Harry Potter close to Christmas, close to New Year's, and I really enjoyed it. I really liked reading something easy, something cozy, something fantastical, something that I've known well, something magical. And I decided to keep the tradition this year, and I wanted to read Magisterium. I've heard about this series before. It has 5 books, and it's also about a magical school. The main characters are 2 boys and a girl, just as it was in Harry Potter. But the person who was reviewing this series said that it's actually very different from Harry Potter, and you will realize that it's different after you read the first 30 pages. And apparently it's a very, very intriguing and interesting series, and I really, really am looking forward to reading it. So probably these are the books that I will be taking starting from the middle of December and until the end of December. These were all the books that I'm planning on reading. There are a lot, and I really will not be able to read all of them, but I'm hoping to read as many as I can. Please let me know what your plans for the end of the year are. Do you have any books that you're planning on reading in December to get yourself into this Christmassy, magical winter mood? Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.